Black men are disgusting, okay? And not all of us, but enough for it to be a crisis. And if you are tired of women, especially black women, getting torn down by the very men they protect, repost this, stitch it, duet it, say something. Because being quiet is code for complicity.
I still don't understand how black women protect black men. Like I don't understand how that is the case. And I'm also very confused about the mixed messages that we get, particularly from these black feminist spaces. I'm going to assume that he's aligned with black feminism because everything that I've heard up to this point sounds like what you would expect to hear from a radical black feminist.
Understanding is not going to stop these things from hurting us. It is time for black men to face the consequences of their actions.
But I'm like, how are they protecting you, but at the same time, they're victims?
Those of us who are not black cisgender men face an unusual predicament. Like, what makes us black is a set of conditions of violence and violation. So that same violence that conditions our living, that makes us recognizable as black to each other and also writ large within society, it's the same violence that also precludes black women and black girls, especially, from being seen as victims.
Like, which one is it? Like, are they victims who don't get protection and they don't have the luxury of being victims? Or are they the protectors in protecting the community? Like, you can't be both.
We are then denied victimhood. We're denied innocence. We are denied a form of self-possession that white victims of violence are allowed. This is what transforms us through the singularity of the Middle Passage to a martyr, a savior, property, protector, and sacrifice. Because we do not have access to a form of womanhood that would call for our protection.
Like, you can't be a victim and a protector at the same time. So already, like, a few seconds in, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And if he had some stats or some findings to back up what he said, then maybe I would start to consider some of his talking points. But if this entire rant is just going to be him talking about how horrible black men are, then I'm like, this isn't anything substantial. But let's continue.
And I'm not talking about the black men who show up, right? I'm talking about the ones who weaponize these microphones and have these dusty-ass podcasts and social media platforms. The ones who manipulate healing and call misogyny truth-telling. The ones that hide behind their masculine energy while never even learning how to be a real man. And before...
I don't know how you would define a real man. I would argue, and respectfully, this man definitely sounds like he is gay. He doesn't sound like he's straight. And I would argue that there's going to be plenty of black men out there who are not going to look at a gay man to define what a real black man is. I could be wrong, but just from what I've observed and what I've seen between even black men, I've noticed that there is somewhat of a chasm or divide between black heterosexual men and the black gay men. And they're not always aligned. Quite frankly, sometimes they're very much politically misaligned. And I can't imagine that, like, your typical heterosexual male is going to look to a gay black man to define what a real man is. Like that, they wouldn't do that. But let's continue.
For you niggas get in the comments with that usual not all men BS or some backhanded homophobic BS, spare me. I am a man before anything, a black man at that. I know what I've seen and I know how we fail our women daily. I'm not exempt from the truth. I'm responsible for telling it. Y'all niggas don't want love, y'all want control. Then y'all turn around to call women masculine for having standards and having to learn to adapt to doing things on their own because you niggas don't.
I think this is what gets confusing. So black men want control, but oftentimes black women complain about the fact that black men are not stepping up and leading. In order to be a leader, you have to have control. And what that also is an admission that black women themselves are leading, that they are the ones who are the leaders of the community. And based upon that, black women would also have to be culpable for the different challenges that exist in the community if that is the case. So I don't really understand his logic. And listen, he's a black man, so I can't speak for his experience. I'm not here to do that, but we understand that anytime you hear anyone who's coming up in the black community and putting all of the ills and all of the issues on the other gender, then you've lost me. You completely lost me. That's just not true. That's just not reality. There is no reality that exists in which Black men are completely responsible for literally everything, and Black women are the complete victims, while at the same time over-earning and overproducing and outpacing and, overperforming, going above and beyond, and supposedly being better than Black men. But at the same time, Black men are trying to control them and oppress them, and just these ideas are narrative and propaganda, because when you actually just try to look at the ideas at its purest form, they don't make sense. They don't make sense under even the smallest scrutiny. And I want you to notice that he's not bringing up any empirical data or evidence to actually substantiate his point. It's really just some more toxic rhetoric that honestly has been, these kinds of things happen because there's a space to bash Black men and there's a space to hate on Black men. Like, you're always going to get some support when you do that. But I think at a certain point we start to find that, can we just be honest and just say, get to the point? Like, do you just want followers? Are you just hoping to just connect with a sisterhood? Do you actually really believe this? Like, were you abused and traumatized by the Black men coming up, and you don't like yourself, and you don't like shit about it? Like, what is it? But this isn't based upon anything true. But this doesn't make sense, and there's nothing you can say to provide empirically that speaks to this being reality other than just your own personal feelings. And at that point, it's like, this is not valid. Let's continue.
And I think the truth of the matter is y'all are really just upset because they don't need y'all anymore. Y'all want to be kings, but y'all have built nothing but trauma and think that's the throne. And the worst part of it,
I don't know why he's saying y'all, like he's a Black man. So I'm like, would he not be, based upon what he's saying, would he not be looking in the mirror and judging himself? Like, how is he now removed from the Black men that he's castigating? How is he not that? Like, are you building something? Are you doing something that is creating space? And also, I want you to notice that he's basically telling Black men that Black women don't need them. At the same time, Black women lost jobs and are, again, struggling economically, don't have a support system, have little to no wealth, are overwhelmed with debts, are the least married, are some of the most unhealthiest, and don't have institutional support. I want you to recognize that he is saying that Black women don't need Black men. At the same time, Black women are struggling. That, to me, does not sound like a real advocate. But let's continue.
it all is that young Black men are watching y'all disrespect Black women, watching y'all treat accountability like disrespect, and watching y'all hide y'all weakness behind violence and volume.
I don't know if he's again this violent. I've broken this down in detail about violence in the Black community, and truly communities across the board in America being bidirectional, and women actually being the ones who initiate violence. Which couple has the highest rates of violence? Last I checked, it's actually lesbian couples. 2 women in romantic relationships have the highest rates of violence. So we cannot assume that women are just inherently docile, especially if we know Black women. Y'all really think Black women are just sitting them here getting beat and dragged up and not doing nothing? Do you know Black women? So this is obviously not true.
Y'all are teaching them to learn that manhood means domination, that silence is strength, that abuse is love, that leadership is control, just with a better outfit. And if we don't start to check this now, we are not just losing women, we are beginning to raise monsters.
So this might be based upon the Duluth model and the idea that basically Black men are, the oppressors. Basically, they're like buffer men, they are like proxies, or the oppressors who are basically keeping marginalized groups, Black men specifically, from being able to move forward. This is what I'm assuming that he's referring to, and that model specifically looks at the idea of Black men using physical violence to overtake, overpower, and dominate and control women, which I've said, when you look at the numbers, are not substantiated. There is DV, but the DV is bidirectional, and women actually tend to initiate violence more, believe it or not.
And if that don't scare y'all, y'all are already too far gone. But if you feel what I'm saying, repost this, speak up, comment, and stand firm, because if you're not fighting to fix it, you are fertilizing the rod.
Yeah, so that was obviously, in my opinion, trash. Honestly, I didn't see anything even real or truthful about that. But what he said is nothing new. It's what we've all heard before. This is just another day, another Tuesday, another Wednesday for a lot of Black men. But I do think we can just be honest about the stuff, that a lot of these narratives are based upon lies. It's white supremacy that unfortunately Black people start to perpetuate. And the sooner we can acknowledge that, and the sooner we can start to call it for what it is, which is lies, propagandas, problems that are really out there to help drive a divide and a wedge, and to stir up dissension between Black people. Sooner we can acknowledge that, the sooner we can actually move forward. Are there really unhealthy, broken Black men in the Black community? Yes. Are there incredibly horrible, disgusting Black women in the Black community? Absolutely. Absolutely. This is not debatable. But there's no reality in which all of the problems and ills associated with the Black community land on the laps of Black men, when he has admitted, based upon his own admission, that Black men haven't even been leaders. Black men haven't had the capacity or really had the place to lead for quite some time. And I would argue that a little bit of patriarchy would actually do Black America quite well. But anyways, that is my thought. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. Leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment section below. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later. Bye.